There's always people that watch these videos and they're like, oh, well, there's one kid that, have you ever listened to him do an interview? He can't even talk. Da, da, da. Yeah, but you're talking about like the top 300 guys out of 1.1 million. That's not it, right? Those guys, of course, they don't have to do anything we teach, right? They just don't. But for him specifically, if he were to start doing outreach and really putting himself in front of coaches and getting himself an opportunity to earn a scholarship, and this is something critical we share with everyone that we do a professional evaluation for, so that when they target schools, they target the right schools and the right divisions, and they actually get responses back. So what is he looking at, Brian, from a division at this point? How to Get a College Football Scholarship, a series where we evaluate active high school game film, break it down, let them know what level they have the best chance of earning a scholarship in, and most importantly, what they need to do to get to the next level. And joining me today is our head coach here at Next Play, Brian Overton, who has over 15 years of Division I recruiting experience. So Brian, who are we evaluating today? Could you just give us a little bit of a background on the player, and then let's jump right into the game film.
Yeah, really excited about this guy for a couple reasons. He's from my home state of North Carolina, which is really cool. So
All
we've
right.
we've
All
got a
right.
few of them here and there that we've done. So that's always cool.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, he's a really unique athlete, really unique athlete. I will say, I think he's probably, I don't know if he's a subscriber or if he checks out our stuff, but like I can tell by just the information slide we've got here, and even like some order of plays and things
Mm.
like that. I think he's been coached up. I'm not going to say that's us taking full credit for it, but if I was a betting man, I think he's watched a couple things, or got some information, some good information from somewhere, which is kind of cool, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Um,
that slide, he looks like a subscriber for sure. So,
or a frequent listener, even if he's not. But anyway, that's pretty cool. But he's a really unique player. As you can see on his slide there, he's listed. He's got himself listed as a tight end DN athlete. I typically try not to do the three position, or all kind of thing with this kid. I mean, I didn't have him. We didn't have him change it because he's right. Like, I mean, he's a very unique player. He's very intriguing. So I think everybody will look forward to watching this tape. Again, this one's a little unique because again, he's already got the information slide, which is typically not in there, and we really like this order that he's got right here. I think is really fits probably what he needs to show. So we're just gonna let it run, and I'll talk about him, kind of as we go along. He's about 6'4", 225, as you can see in the action shot there, which is why we have guys put it on there. To be honest with you, you can kind of see what the guy looks like on the hoof, in their information slide, and that's a really good shot of him right there. You can see his length. He's put together really well. He's a 2026, and so we're just gonna jump right into it right here.
let's do it, dude. I like it. He looks like a player, that's for
He
sure. That's
is. He
interesting.
does.
Tight end, D end. I like it.
Yep.
Let's go.
So his tight end stuff's in the front. He's playing inline right here. This is what I like about him. You'll see as the tape goes on here. I'll just kind of talk through it. It's not too terrible long. It's right at 4 minutes, so that's not terribly long. But
Okay.
he's got scoring plays in the front. What I like is, and you'll see it as it goes along. Like I said, he plays some inline. And people that don't know what I mean by inline, he's actually on the line of scrimmage with his hand in the ground. So he plays some inline tight end, but he also plays some H. And what H is kind of off right there. As soon as I said it, a little off
Yeah.
the ball, in a 2-point stance. So they use him in a variety of different ways to get him the ball, which I like. They're really creative with him. And so that shows it's not position. So to some people it is position flexes, because some people are recruiting truly on the ball tight end. Some guys use them both ways.
Yeah.
Like, just showing that he can do both, makes his marketability, even higher, which is what I love about him. He's
He can
got
run some routes too. I saw that post look nice, dude.
I was gonna say he's not a bad route runner for his size. And remember now, this is a pretty big man. He's long, 6'4", 225, and you'll see in here he's got a little bit of wiggle. He showed some toughness right there, finishing runs. I like his hands, man. I like his body control in his hands. You saw early in the tape he made some tough catches, especially on a couple of those touchdown scores. But you can see there, he can kind of start and stop. Excuse me. He can start and stop pretty well for a guy his size. So I think he does some really nice things at tight end. I really do. He's got a good feel for the game. He saw. Now I'm gonna stop it right here a little bit. I'm gonna run this back. So I did want to talk about this when I had it down on my deal. So I want to talk about this one because this shows some football IQ. So he's gonna run this little out route here. All right, but he's showing some IQ. He's one, he's coached up, but two, he knows not to just keep going towards the sideline with this thing. Okay, he's gonna know to kind of sit it down here with that guy sitting there in zone coverage. He feels this zone coverage, so he doesn't keep going to the sideline. He kind of
Yeah.
sits down and he gets quarterback friendly for his quarterback. Hits him with a nice little ball, moves the chains, and we're rolling. Small
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
But
go ahead, Brian.
no, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's a big thing. Like, I mean, I never learned that in high school, but that was one of the most important things that you learn in college at the receiver position specifically is the ability to read the defense. And if it's zone coverage, you don't just run an out route into the zone; you sit in the hole.
Yeah,
So learning how to do that at a young age, and like he's probably if he's coached up on it, that's great. If he's doing it naturally, that's like
even
that's
better.
legit. Yeah.
Yeah. So he shows some stuff like that in there, playing tight end, some football IQ, and some rap. See, there he does again. You know what I mean? He kind of sits it down in the zone there and finds the soft spot. Makes it really friendly for his quarterback. You can kind of see his size right there in that picture, that tight copy there. And I was going to skip ahead to that, but you can see right here. So this is his first blocking clip. Okay. Now they don't ask him to do a lot of this. I want to preface it with that. Okay. They don't ask him to do a lot of this, but you can see right here when they did, he's willing to stick his face in there and get it done. Okay, he's playing H right here. He's inserting right here on this ISO. He goes to one, he gets up to two. He's fighting his tail off in there. Same thing here on the end line, on the end of the line of scrimmage. He's a willing blocker, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that, here in a second. But this is what makes him really intriguing too, guys. So this is the second half of his tape. So he did a nice job grouping those tight end plays together. He had all his catches in the front. He threw two good, solid blocking clips, in there at the end. He didn't overdo it with just, routine plays. He showed stuff that can really translate to the next level on just those two blocking clips. And if you watch enough tape and you know what you're looking for, that is plenty right there to see, that he's a willing guy and you can coach him up and get him better at it, which I'll talk about here in a second. This makes him really intriguing, guys. Remember, he's 6'4", 225 pounds, okay? He's playing outside linebacker, but I think he's an outside linebacker, but he's playing almost like nickel for his high school now. Like he's out there in space, like, he's out here over the slot receiver, all right? And I'm going to just let it play here, but he does some really unique things on defense as well. He's dropping into coverage here. The quarterback scrambles out of here. He's going to intercept this ball now.
Dang.
That's impressive for a
And he
big man.
rerouted the receiver. He
Yeah,
rerouted that receiver, which was a big deal,
yeah.
especially a slot receiver.
It's a big man, having PBUs out here now, and now he's going to get after the quarterback. He's going to show some speed to power.
Dang.
And get a sack. This is what makes him really unique. It really does. Because I can see this kid being very intriguing on both sides of the ball because of this. And I was honestly, I'm usually when I see a two-way guy, like a true two-way guy, I'm talking about, and when I say a two-way guy, guys, and this is for everybody listening, and this is just me personally now, the way I see it from my years of experience. When I say a true two-way guy, I mean like he has real tangible skills on both sides of the ball that actually translate to the college game. That's what I mean by a true two-way player. They are guys that play both ways because they're really good athletes, and they do, their team needs them to do that to win, just because they're a really good athlete and they're one of the best players on the team. But typically, one of their skill sets is going to match or translate to college ball as far as like having opportunities for scholarships and things like that more so than the other most of the time. Okay, but we have come across some guys, and we've done a handful of them on here that had true two-way ability, where both sides of the ball they had really transferable skills that go to both sides of the ball at the college level. And this kid, with his size, and that tape on either side of the ball, depending on what they were looking for, and the easy way to look at it is put yourself in a tight end coach's shoes, and you're evaluating tight ends in that class. And you're going through tape, and you watch the first part of that tape, and you're probably you're gonna be intrigued. You know what I mean? And we'll get into levels and all that stuff here in a second, but you're gonna be intrigued. And the same thing though, if he was doing outreach to defensive coaches as well, and saying, hey coach, I got a lot more on offense, but I do have some defensive stuff I want you to see. If you want to skip down to 244, I think it was. And that's what we tell guys if they ever get into conversations with, one side of the ball or the other. Just tell them the timestamp, which is why we have them group the plays together like that, because you can take the defensive coach right to what he wants to see. He may want to watch the whole tape, but we always have them say, hey, coach, if you want to watch just my defensive stuff, start at timestamp 240, whatever, and you can get right to it.
Right.
I can totally see, him as an outside linebacker hybrid guy because of the way, he moves around. I'd be really intrigued as a defensive coach, the way he could use a guy at that size, and he's got a whole nother year of tape and a whole nother year of developing his body and things like that. So, really intrigued by this guy. I like the kid a lot. I think he's got a skill set that's going to be, really marketable. Again, depending on, like we always say, how what he's doing, how he's doing his outreach, how he's getting his tape
Yeah.
out, is he marketing himself and all that good stuff. But he has some marketability that I think is really good. I like the kid a lot.
The marketability is there. Now it's like his ability to market himself, sell himself, communicate with coaches, build relationships, move them through a sales process.
Correct.
That'll be the determining factor on where he goes from here. But obviously, in a traditional evaluation that we send to a family when we do a professional evaluation, this is not it, right? We obviously send them a breakdown of their film, what plays to move where, all that stuff. But we do share with them what division they have the best chance of earning a scholarship in, and this is critical because if Ethan goes down the route and really decides to market himself and sell himself and move coaches through that process. And, there's always people that watch these videos and they're like, oh, well, there's one kid that, have you ever listened to him do an interview? He can't even talk. Da, da, da. Yeah, but you're talking about the top 300 guys out of 1.1 million. That's not, that's not it, right? Those guys, of course, they don't have to do anything we teach, right? They just don't. But for him specifically, if he were to start doing outreach and really putting himself in front of coaches and getting himself an opportunity to earn a scholarship, what divisions does he have the best chance of earning a scholarship in right now based on his game film? And this is something critical we share with everyone that we do a professional evaluation for, so that when they target schools, they target the right schools and the right divisions, and they actually get responses back. So what is he looking at, Brian, from a division at
Yeah,
this point?
I feel, and even us as a team, on our coaching staff, but I feel really comfortable right now. He should be having real conversations, with Division II and FCS coaches right now, in our opinion, based on his game tape, his size, the way he moves, and all those things. And we were at a consensus that could be on either side of the ball, on defense or offense. We think as right now, if again we keep going back to it, if enough people are seeing this tape, and there obviously we beat it to death, but there's obviously no way to know how the tape is getting out or what kind of marketing he's doing and things like that. But if that stuff is happening, he should be getting real interest from like heavy interest from Division II schools right now, and I think also FCS schools, depending on what they're looking for on either side of the ball. Again, because 6'4", 225, who moves fairly. I'm not going to say he moves great at that size, but he moves well enough where he could play at those levels in a year from now, and that's how I have to look at it. As a projection, especially with a 2026, he's getting close enough where you say, and we'll talk about this here in a second. If he does X, Y, and Z, he could play high level Division II FCS football. I think on either side of the ball. in my opinion, and
Okay.
that's what I would be heavily, heavily targeting right now if I was him.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, um, everybody wants to go D1, right? And power forward D1, and some even SEC Big Ten D1, right? So what do you feel like this individual player needs to do in order to put himself in that position?
Yeah, good question. So I think, and I'll kind of split it up here. I'll split it up offense, defense, because again, we feel like he's a true two-way player. We'll start with tight end because that's where most of his tape is. At tight end, again, he's a great size right now, okay? Because he wouldn't need to do too much just based off the picture I see and watching the tape, watching him move. He doesn't need to do very much. I'm talking about like as far as like weight specific with his body, in my opinion. Like if he graduated next year at 225 pounds, that would be just fine. Because wherever he's going, can if they want to add, he's probably going to gain some. So let's say he graduates at somewhere between 230 and 235, maybe. I don't know. He may gain a little bit of weight. That is perfect coming out of high school because that gives the school he's going to and the program he's going to the flexibility, to add, subtract, and it's not a huge number, right? So that's right in the sweet spot for a tight end, with his skill set coming out. So I wouldn't do too much there. What I would do is, while he does run pretty good routes and things like that, he's a big man, right? So I would really, really work on like the foot speed, the change of direction to really get sharper, getting in and out of routes. That's how you separate yourself, those big, freakish athletes that get those big time offers. That's how you separate yourself on offense. And I'll get to defense here in a second. Those big time tight ends. And I'll give you an example, like the kid right here in North Carolina that goes to Reidsville High School. He's committed to Oregon. He's similar to this kid. He's probably 2 inches taller and about 15, 20 pounds heavier, right? But he's just such a good
Mhm.
athlete. I mean, he runs routes like an outside receiver, but he's big and he's powerful. You know what I mean? And all those
Yeah.
things. So it's just a different level of that. So I would really work on the foot speed, the ladder drills, getting in and out of breaks. I would train if I was him on in the passing game like a wideout. I would train like with wideouts. I would do like individual drills with wideouts. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
then
Yeah.
take that to the tight end position, whether you have your hand in the ground or if you're playing the H off the ball at out of a 2 point stance. But all those transferable skills from wide receiver, I would take it to tight end in the passing game. In the running game, he needs to get much more powerful. Like you got to be able to if you're putting your hand in the ground, in college football as a tight end, on the end of the line, you have to be able to set the edge. Okay, you've got to be able to hold the point. All right, and then when you get into if you run in any kind of power running game, like you don't have to, they're not asking you to wipe people out like they are the big linemen and stuff like that, but you have to be able to move people and hold your own and really show power. Okay, so what I was saying, I was setting that up in the tape when I was talking about he's a willing blocker, right? But there's a difference in college in being a willing blocker and being an effective blocker. So he really needs to work on his power, his lower half power. That's really where you get a lot of your power from on the line of scrimmage, even with offensive linemen. So his lower half and obviously his upper half power. So just getting bigger and stronger in the running game to be able to put that
Yeah.
on tape next year and really dominate people. Because at that size, they're expecting you to dominate people in high school. If you're talking about
Yeah.
leveling up to those next, tiers of
Yeah.
Division 1, right?
Yeah. It just looks different. But like, let me ask you a question. I know this video is kind of going a little long, so I just want to be quick with this last question. But that knee brace, does that matter? If you're a coach, do you look at that and ask questions?
Yes.
Okay, so he needs to switch that pick because he looks good. He looks like a good player, but then I see that knee
But if you but
brace
if
and
you're
I
gonna
think to
if you're gonna play in it, they're gonna see it on tape. You know what I mean? So,
mm,
so it won't matter. They're gonna ask either way, and you just be honest with them because you know what I mean. The last thing you would do is hide something from them anyway. So you might as well just tell them.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It obviously hadn't affected his play very much. His tape's still good, so it's probably not going to be as big of an issue. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But yes, good
Okay.
question. They're definitely going to ask and do their homework, and rightfully so. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And then real
Totally.
quick on defense, like he's very unique on defense. So the same type situation, depending on I would it would depend on where they're planning on playing him for me to give him direct feedback on what I think he needs to do, to get better. Because, I mean, they had him playing out in space in high school, and he was moving around, intercepting balls and all kind of stuff like that. So he's really unique as like a hybrid guy. So I think a lot of the same things that he would do to get better on offense, you would see on defense. But what I would say is on defense, you didn't see a ton. You saw some tackling like in space and stuff. But next year, if he really gets some physicality on tape, or gets some stuff where he's closer to the line of scrimmage, where he's really got to be in the run fit and stick his nose in there, you know what I mean, and fit a gap and things like that, and really have some stick and stops on his tape, that really show the physicality where they know they can get him closer to the ball if they want to and add a little weight. That's what I would say as far like his tape, and be able to show on defense next year on his senior tape, to be able to really take it to another level there on defense.
Love it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Good stuff. Well, I hope Ethan makes the decision to do what it takes to get to the next level when it comes to doing his outreach and marketing himself and all that. And there's just a lot of opportunity here for this young man. I hope he takes advantage of it. And if you got value from this video, definitely consider subscribing. Hit the bell notification. We make videos. We post videos 3 days a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday morning. This evaluations we do every Saturday morning. So, and also, if you'd like to see if your son meets the criteria for professional evaluation, we'll leave a link in the description below. If not, we'll see you on the next one.